Hi, it's Congressman Mike Garcia out here in Washington, D.C. right now, representing California's 27th Congressional District, which is North LA County, Santa Clarita, Antelope Valley, Acton, Agua Dulce, Granada Hills, Porter Ranch. Happy to be here, and thanks for listening. I think the inspiration was frankly not enough trust in the representative who was in the job at the time, and not being comfortable with just staying on the sidelines. For me, I've always had a love of country. I've always had sort of this calling to serve the country in whatever capacity. Seeing the elections in 2018 and seeing someone, frankly, who I could not trust get elected to represent my district, I literally, the day after the elections, shared with my wife and my family that this may affect us, and I decided that if these changes were going to take place, that I needed to be a part of those changes. It's all about taking care of our constituents, and what we do on a daily basis, my staff in the district in California, but also here in Washington, D.C., taking care of folks who need help with the IRS, that need help with Social Security, the VA, and unfortunately a lot of these federal agencies frankly are broken right now, and you shouldn't have to call your congressman to get the help, but we can turn something that would normally be a 6-month process into just a few days, a couple of weeks. So it's full spectrum, but in the end it's all about constituent services, and anyone who's here as a representative in Congress who forgets that will shortly lose their job. We're working on a lot right now, and unfortunately they're mostly inspired by the crises that we are experiencing as a nation right now. One of the bills I'm working on gets base pay for our active duty military above a minimum wage of the equivalent of $15. We're working on a bill right now that goes after sanctioning the precursor providers for fentanyl. It's coming from China to Mexico. The pills are being made in Mexico and smuggled across our border, basically unhindered. What we're trying to do is at least stop the tide of fentanyl coming across and going after China, putting sanctions, levying sanctions on the companies that make those precursor elements. I think if people who are in this building doing this job for a living, legislating, being citizen legislators, rather than actors and actresses, if they spent more time trying to solve problems rather than communicating on social media. We need to actually pass legislation. We actually need to get solutions into the table. We have to bring the solutions. We know what the crises are, we know what the answers are, and it's up to us to get to compromise positions, which is what our founding fathers wanted. They wanted us to compromise on things in the interest of the nation. Well, there's not a lot I can say publicly about what we're doing on the Intel Committee. One of the things we're trying to do in Intel is actually declassify a lot of the stuff that was previously classified or weaponized. The government tends to use classified material as an excuse not to share information with the general public, and frankly, there's some topics that do need to be declassified. Well, you can always reach us on our website, mikegarcia.gov.house. We send a newsletter out, so you can subscribe to our newsletter. We send that out weekly. I do a week in review video, which is usually about 5 minutes long, and it explains not only what are we doing here in D.C., what's going on back at home in my district, and whatever sort of my perspectives are on the topic of the day. I think it's important that, above all things, we communicate with our constituents. So there's a lot of avenues of approach for that within our office.